Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's Jay Bill again. Today we're going to teach you how to strip the paint off of your valve cover, or any type of valve cover, or any paint for that matter. This is the Rust-Oleum aircraft remover. This thing works great. It says removes the toughest finishes, and it works in 10 minutes. The longer you let it sit, the more it's going to dissolve and strip the paint off of any type of metal or aluminum or alloy. Stuff works great. You definitely want to use some gloves if you're messing with it. This stuff will burn you. I have a brush here. You don't need any type of quality brush, just a chippy choppy brush, cheap enough to spread it throughout the valve cover to get inside the cracks and crevices of your valve cover, any tight spots, especially where your spark plugs go. Right in there, you want to get that in there because that's where most of the crud and grime and oil tends to sit on these valve covers. I also have a wire brush that I use to clean up any extra grease or dirt and oil in there. So you want to get in there. I also have a wire brush to get in there if I need to. Another wire brush to get in there and, clean that out. But I'm not going to use the wire brush yet. I'm actually going to let that aircraft remover sit in there for about at least a minimum of 10 minutes. Normally I let it sit for a half an hour to an hour just to let it eat at the paint as much as possible. That way it'll be easier for me to take everything off. So normally what I do is if the brush is small enough, I'll stick it in there, but that's a pretty small hole, so you're not going to get much in there. So what I'll do is I'll apply a little bit onto the valve cover itself. It's kind of like slime, so just be careful. Again, like I said, this stuff does burn, so you do not want it on your skin. I'm not using gloves, but I've used it so many times that, I'm very cautious with it. But go ahead and start pretty much painting it right up on the valve cover. And you'll start to see your paintbrush turn blue because it's going to start eating at this stuff right away. Because it's burning, pretty much burning the paint off of the valve cover right off. Lets that stuff come right off and get it everywhere as much as possible. And get in the cracks and crevices. That's the most important, to get those cracks and crevices. Because you don't get in there, the paint's going to stay there, and it's just going to look really ugly. So we don't want that. We want it to look really pretty. It's all about the looks. Making it look good. Paying attention to detail. As we all know, sponsors love details. Paying attention to detail is always key. Down to the paint, down to the bolts, down to the build itself, just being unique and different. Something you don't see every day. Alright. I'm going to do it one more time. Just a little bit, not too much. Get right in between those holes where your valve cover spark plugs go to. You really want to get in there because that's the tough area. So get right up in there as much as you can. And I can already start to see the paint itself just come right off. I can see the old paint. It looks like they had used black paint previously. But yeah, get right up in there, and you want that paint to get on everything as much as possible. Don't put it on anything you don't want to get damaged. This is my workbench. It's actually a computer table, but I don't care about it, so this is what I use for all my projects. Make sure you get right in between where your valve cover bolts go, because that's where it also gets dirty and greasy and grimy as well. So we'll get in there. Alright. That looks fantastic. Also have a sander just in case I need any sanding after. Sand it down nice and smooth. But alright, we're gonna leave that be and let it sit for about 15 to 30 minutes. That's my preference. But again, it says it works in about 10 minutes. But the longer you let it sit, the better results you're gonna get, and the less hand work you're gonna need to get all this paint off. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't get off the first time, go ahead and throw another coat and let the aircraft do its job. So yeah, it's definitely doing its job right now. I can see the paint just starting to bubble and come right off actually. So all right, we're gonna let that sit. I'll let you guys go here, and we'll start off in about 10-15 minutes. So alright, so it's been sitting for about 15 minutes. Now I'm just going to go at it and kind of apply some pressure on it and pretty much pat this down the whole way through. Let's see. Yeah, if you're looking at it in the camera, you can see it's starting to remove the paint itself. Let me swipe here. You can see it's all pretty much coming right out. If you can see that in the camera. Yeah, you can see it all starting to come right out. That's all paint. Kind of wipe it off. So this is what I do to get in between the cracks and crevices, especially with the Tenzo Racing. You want to get in between all them letters and get all that paint out as much as you can. So pretty much just pat through the whole process. Just pat through and kind of give it a little bit of force. And then the rest of the paint that doesn't come off, you can give it a little wire brush and see how that does to it, how it takes that way. But yeah, this stuff works great. Messy, but it does work great. So like I said, when you're using it, definitely use it or somewhere you don't mind getting damaged. Stay away from the walls, the floor. You know, it will burn through anything it can. So just be cautious of that. It will burn through lots of materials in your home. So either do it in the basement or your workplace, somewhere far from anything that you don't want to get damaged. And make your way all towards one direction. Nice. Alright. Take that wire brush, get in between those cracks and crevices. wire brush is perfect for those tough to reach spots and them stubborn spots as well. So Alright, she's just about there for the first, I guess you could say the first session of auto craft remover. So now I'm going to pause the video, but I'm going to go ahead and rinse her off. Usually what I do is take her under the faucet or take her outside under the hose and spray her down. I'll put it in a bucket because there's going to be a lot of paint everywhere, stripped paint all over the place. So you want to run it under some really, really hot water. And then if there's still excess, you go back with a wire brush. And if there's a lot of excess, then go ahead and throw some more aircraft remover over it. And then go back at it. So I'm going to cut out here, rinse her off, and then I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, I'm back. I just rinsed her off. You can see the bare metal on this valve cover. And there's still some glue left. But the paint is pretty much stripped all off. You can see there's a little bit right there. This valve cover is actually 3 different colors. The top layer was blue. The second layer was red. And the original color, I'm assuming, was black. So there was 3 layers of paint on there. So it did the job. There's still some work to be done. But that's where the wire brush comes into play. I'm going to start right here where the spark plugs go. Because it's the most, toughest place to get in there and clean up. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started on that. Alright guys, so I jumped forward on this because it does take some time to wire brush it. Move the camera there. It takes some time to wire brush it, so it took about 20 minutes to a half an hour. Really getting in on these in between here. The inside is pretty thorough. You know, you got to get in there. It gets pretty tedious. Right in between the lettering. I was using the wire brush to get in between the lettering. And pretty much just going all the way through, all the way around, right on the corners, all the way through. You know, it's pretty time consuming, but to get it nice and bare metal and ready for paint or even ready to polish, you know, it takes quite some time. You know, the labor is pretty intensive. But she's pretty much there. I cleaned her off with some purple power. So just a degreaser, you know, call it a day. But yeah, you really want to get into, you know, really want to get into all the cracks and crevices and make sure all that paint gets out. You know, it's going to take some time, so the longer you take time on getting in there, the better your prep's going to be for your paint, or even if you're polishing. Polishing more so, you want to get every speck of paint off of there. If you're going to paint it, you know, get it down to bare metal as much as you can, and then prime it, and then go from there with your paint of choice. But I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, so I will keep you guys updated on whether it's going to be a paint job or if I'm going to polish it. But it's pretty much done, you know. It's a lot of wire brushing, and you know, wear glasses, wear gloves, safety first. You don't want anything flying in your face and causing any harm. So yeah, that's pretty much it. After I was done, just some purple power, clean her up, get everything off of her, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Let me go ahead and show you the final result, and then I'll probably make another video on whether I'm going to polish it or paint it. But again, this stuff, a lot of people don't realize it, but it does take hours, and the more time you spend on it, the better result you're going to get. I think I'm going to paint it, but again, I will keep you guys updated on a new video on exactly what I'm going to do. But let me go ahead and show you the final result after using some aircraft remover and a lot of wire brushing and, you know, cleaning her down. But yeah, this is pretty much the end result here. Really get in there, because it's tough, but I did the best I could. You know, a lot of wire brushing. But yeah, that is it. Now we'll get her set up for the next step. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again.